One of the things that I love to do is to take two things and see how they're related. It's an easy thing to do, but it's even easier when you're feeling a little bit of a lack of inspiration, which I have been feeling recently. And I know a lot of it has to do with just life events. I just got married. Hell yeah.
Hell yes.
Best night ever. Perfect night. Nothing went wrong. But my photography and just anything creative kind of took a back seat. And in that time, I recently got enthralled with this show called 100 Foot Wave.
Nazare was first surfed, 8 or 9 years ago. It took someone who was always seeking it out that long to find something, because with big waves, if they're not breaking, you don't know they exist. So what's unique about Nazare is it's the largest trench in all of Europe. Now the trench allows the swell, this raw energy from the Atlantic to come in. It focuses it and it comes in. So what happens is all this swell comes in, and then it all of a sudden gets accelerated onto shallow water. So there's a point with a ledge and it's all sand. It's a giant beach. The swell comes in this way and it matches with another one, and the energy combines and it doubles in height.
The first thing that I noticed right off the bat is the mastery involved, and it comes in two parts. The first part being the actual filmmakers of this show, and that has to do with camera operators, it has to do with drone operators. The footage and the cinematography that they get for this show is absolutely unbelievable. And I know that it might be a easy subject to capture. It's a 100-foot wave. You point your camera at it and you're probably going to get a good shot. But for me, I'm on a tripod. I'm photographing someone that is standing there, and for them, they're in the ocean, they're in the elements, the weather. It's affecting them way more than a person looking at me will affect the way that I photograph. So to see someone that does it so beautifully and skillfully, it's just really inspiring. And then the other part with mastery is seeing the surfers themselves. The amount of skill, the amount of resilience that they have, the fact that they might get in and not catch a single wave all day, the patience involved, just to see someone put in so many hours and so many days perfecting a skill, it makes me feel good. It makes me want to go out, and it leaves me with a feeling that I don't normally get when watching a lot of photography related stuff online.
With tow-in surfing, which is and to explain to people who don't know what tow-in surfing is, it's a jet ski with a wakeboard rope on the back of it, and you use it to get towed into these massive waves. So you eliminate paddling altogether, and it's just a slingshot into these giant waves, and you're riding a board that's much smaller versus a 10-foot board.
Right.
You're on a 6-foot board. What I love most about big wave surfing and the draw is you look at a big wave and it's a mirror, and you realize there's no hiding, there's no lying to yourself. Who you are in that moment in your life is right in front of you, and you know it clear as day, and you can either work on it or you can be stoked that, of who you are in that moment, because you're facing death straight in the face, and fear has never been more relevant or more powerful in that moment. And there's something so satisfying and scary though of acceptance of fear. It's like a release. It's like relief. You kick out of a big wave and you were just on the edge of your life, and if you fell, you were just worried you may never come back up or you might get absolutely destroyed, and the fear just washes off of you like, dirt in a shower.
A subject that also continually popped up when it came to listening to these surfers and watching this documentary was the idea of fear. And I think fear holds a lot of creative people back, a lot of photographers back when it comes to photographing what they want, asking a stranger for a portrait, wondering if you should start a YouTube channel or not. People are always afraid. They're always wondering what's going to happen next. And when watching this documentary, the difference between tackling a 100-foot wave and tackling something as small as asking a stranger for a portrait, they can feel the same way. You're going through all the same emotions, but the risk for one is substantially higher compared to the other. And when you listen to these surfers talk about fear, they face it head on. They know exactly what they're getting into. And one of the things that they do in order to succeed and push past that is to just be prepared for the worst and hope for the best.
And it usually happens because to get to big waves, you usually round a corner, whether it's on a boat or a car or whatever, or walking down the beach, you come around a corner and all of a sudden the wave is revealed. It's like the reveal of a movie. So you turn the corner and you see plumes of spray going hundreds of feet in the air. And in the distance, maybe a mile away, you see this monster breaking, and your heart starts to skip a little bit, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, here we go. And I could start feeling the switch kind of starting to move. And then all of a sudden I pull up and I see the canvas that is the wave breaking and the perfection. And any fear that I had the night before, because I think we all find ourselves in our own world, and if I've learned anything from big wave riding is trying to be uncomfortable more often. Like every day, if I can be a little uncomfortable, it's probably positive, because it means that I'm experiencing something that I'm not used to whatsoever, you know? If you're willing to be uncomfortable all the time, you're willing to see things from very different perspectives, and oftentimes you're going to surprise yourself. That's just natural to big wave surfing in general. Like, you're gonna have to go through, everyone goes through those types of situations if they're willing to go to the level that they want, or the highest level, the degree in which would be like a black belt or like you have to go through that at one point. It's like someone telling you what to do and they have all this wealth of knowledge, but right. Until you go through the experience on your own, you don't truly learn it for yourself. You don't go, like, it doesn't have the weight necessarily. You can be told all you want, but you almost have to experience it on your own accord. You have to face everything. Like, I was telling my friend, I had like a certain situation that I was kind of going through, like, for this situation when I was a young kid, like, because I was pretty aware about like the people around me and the mistakes they had made, and how I was like, I always, when I was really young and when my ego was definitely very strong, inside I was like, I want to do everything perfect, and I want to do it the best anyone's ever done it. I want to be the best ever, because as a kid, you don't have to confront it yet, you know, but you can imagine, you can believe, you can do all these things, but you don't actually have to go through it yet because you're still a little kid. Anyway, so I told myself this one particular thing, like, I'm going to avoid this, and I'm going to make sure I never end up in this situation. And inevitably, the one thing that you try to avoid is the one thing that'll eventually come for you. You know, you'll eventually meet it.
And one time in particular where I kind of let fear overtake me because I didn't want to ask a person for a portrait, or I just didn't want to be involved with the encounter, was when I was in Hannibal with my friend Carl. We were walking around, and I just remember it being hot as hell, and wasn't looking for anything in particular, wasn't looking for portrait subjects or anything like that. But we came across these two kids that were throwing a water bottle up against a brick wall, and they were just being kids. I don't know if it was a school day or if they were off school, but we walked by them, and Carl said something along the lines of Curran Heidelberg would take a photo of them. And if you don't know Curran Heidelberg, he's a photographer, documentary photographer, takes wonderful portraits. And I was like, yeah, he probably would. And we continued walking, and I was like, just in my head about it and not wanting to ask, but I thought, they're kids. What's the worst that is gonna, what's gonna happen if I ask them for a portrait? And at that point, I didn't let the fear overtake me. And the kid asked something along the lines of, can you take a video of me? Because he thought that we had video cameras. And that was my way in. That was I guess it was like the world telling me that it was okay for me to ask them for a portrait now because they initiated it. And I said, well, it's not a video camera, but I can take your photo if you want me to. And they were super excited about it. At the time, they were in some shade, so I walked them over to a parking space, and I wanted to get the Hotel Mark Twain in the background, which is this hotel in Hannibal, Missouri. And I got their portrait. And I bring this up because I don't think I've ever shared this photograph on this channel. But it was one time specifically where I thought there was going to be two outcomes with this. I was going to walk by them, and I was never going to see them again. I would never think about them again, and I would just continue on with my day. But in the back of my head, I would probably be saying to myself, I should have stopped. I should have asked them for a photo. I wish that I would have done that. And it probably would have bugged me the whole rest of the day, the whole rest of the week probably. And if you have that split second of courage, that 5 seconds where you can just say, hey, I'm a photographer, can I take your portrait? I can assure you that it's going to be okay, and it's going to work out, and the worst that they can say is no. And in this case, they said yes, and I got one of my favorite portraits of all time.
Nicole, I'm gonna go cut some flowers and some tea leaves and stuff. It's an offering to the goddess of the ocean, Yamanja, for safe passage. If I don't offer something, I just offer myself and my love and gratitude. Always giving gratitude.
And the last thing that I want to talk about is just passion. And the way they talk about life, the way they talk about surfing, the way they talk about the ocean and the waves, everything is filled with passion. And I feel myself getting a little bit further away from that, the first love of photography. And it became more of a job, and it became more about sponsors and getting views and ad revenue and things of that nature. And when I sat down to watch this, it really filled me with that passion that I once had in the beginning for photography, and just the passion that I had for being a creative in general. And when I watched this, it filled me with inspiration, and it filled me with a longing to learn new things and try new things out, and to fail at things and to fail really hard, and to get back up, try it again, and just be better the next time that I do it. And when I was watching this, I just felt like it was my moral obligation to let everyone know about this specific show, because I was laughing, I was crying, I was just jubilated with the way that it made me feel. And if I have subscribers and if I have followers, then I feel like I should use it for good. And I just wanted to share it with you guys. And hopefully, in the process, you learn something, or maybe you'll turn it on and be inspired as much as I was. So, hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you later. Peace.
You're chasing the feeling of that first wave, you know, like the reason why you fell in love with surfing. And yeah, okay, it's become a job and become something different, but it should be just surfing. It's just riding waves and having fun.
O segredo pra mim é ser feliz. Eu só sou feliz quando eu tô dentro d'água. Na verdade, fora d'água eu sou feliz também, mas quando eu tô dentro d'água eu sou mais feliz.
And lastly, a thank you to the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. I've used Squarespace for 3 years now, and it's one of the best investments I've ever made. I am able to easily share my work with their customizable galleries, and I can sell prints and easily get paid with their simple-to-use online shop. I can also use their third-party extensions to even ship those prints if I feel so inclined. If you want to support the channel as well as get a small discount, go to squarespace.com/BrianBurks and use code BrianBurks for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.